Cellar for the 66th, yeah, that one, 266th numbered event. Now I was thinking about that. Only 400 more, well, I'll be the mark of the beast, 666. 400 more, Jesus God, no, another 8 years, no. All right, shall we go? Don't forget that certain spells, poisons, diseases, and curses could have a secondary effect on a player encumbrance. A ray of enfeeblement might automatically change encumbrance from light to heavy in addition to the damage reduction. It should definitely have an effect on thieving skills, such as climbing walls or moving silently. Well, I don't think I said it didn't. I said that I kind of hand wave it until circumstances warrant. That would be a warranting circumstance. Right there, yes. That would be a warranting circumstance. A ray of enfeeblement. There's so many other things. Ray of curse of weakness. Curse weakness. Okay, all of a sudden you got to drop something. Okay. Hello. Thanks for answering my questions about the cleric prayers. I'm going to use that idea for my future games for sure. As of this moment, I'm writing out the rules of my ideal version of D&D. However, I'm stuck on how abstract is too much. In the case of hit points, having a pool of hit points determining your ticking clock of how long you've got until you drop dead is an abstract and great idea. However, on the other hand, using conditions or wounds, as seen in other role-playing games, they give more details into the traumas your character has gone through. So my question is a game of D&D, in a game of D&D, which is better or why? Well, I guess that would depend on whether you're playing D&D or General Hospital. Now, let's be real here. If you want to be real here, okay, and this is going more toward real. If you want to be real here, every time you get seriously bunged up, 30%, 40%, 50% of your hit points or more, scar tissue. You're going to lose dex. You're going to lose strength. You're going to lose endurance. There's a lot of things that are going to happen here. What is my idiot cat doing? Oh, he's killing a plushie. Sorry. See him down there in the corner. Well, over to you would be that corner. Anyway, he's over in one of the corners, acting a fool. So I don't have I like hit points because they are a general pool that can be drawn upon by the DM in that damage can be inflicted. What do you want, knucklehead? You coming up? Damage can be inflicted in any number of ways. When I'm playing a game and some terrific explosion sound takes place, well, everybody loses 2 hit points of hearing loss. Now, is it really hearing loss? Well, maybe later there'll be something they didn't hear as well, okay, but, for the most part, it's an abstract. Are you coming up or not? Come on. Sorry, I got a cat here who's acting weird tonight. Weirder than normal, I should say. I like the pool. The pool is not just your wounds. It's your stamina. It's your dexterity. It's the tricks you learn getting to the point you are. Oh, I've seen that move before, and so it's all those things together until the fatal blow is struck, which in my case is when you get to -1, you're dead. Unless, there are circumstances, but you're dead. That's it. I don't go -5, -10. No. -1, you're dead. Actually, most of the time it's at 0. But you can... I don't know. I like the convenience of hit points. You earn them as you succeed and you achieve and you get promoted. So it's something the player is entitled to. And I'll tell you another little fun thing you can do with hit points. Okay, you go up a level. It means you get another hit die. Whatever the hit die might be. 6, 8, 10, whatever. So, I offer my players a option. They can have the average number of hit points that die would give, or they can take the roll, and if they fall below the average, they got to suck it. Amazing how many of them will take the average. Yeah, sure thing. Going up a level, getting more hit points, is a tangible result of doing well, which has a tangible effect on your success and your longevity. That's why I like them. I don't like General Hospital type, oh, I just chopped off 3 fingers, your hand. Well, that character's effectively eliminated. Put him away. You're not going to fight with that guy anymore. All right? He's not going to go adventuring anymore. He's got a finger and a thumb on this hand. What's he going to hold for a weapon? Okay? Gets a foot chopped up. Now, Jolly in Knights of the Dinner Table jokes a lot about that. You know, a shot to the spleen, and things like this. And when he does it, it's for the sake of fun and exaggeration and comedy. But I know there are games that play like that. But if you're going to do that, then you have to, every time you get chewed up enough that you have to go somewhere to recuperate, you're going to lose something. Constitution, dexterity, strength. That would depend on the horrendous wounds that you received, if that's the way you want to play it. It's whatever makes you happy. I don't particularly like it that way, but that's fine. A good way to prevent encumbrance. No, we're not. All right. A good way to deal with encumbrance is utilize item saving throws. Yeah, okay. If I was running a regular, campaign in that, I might consider getting into that, but I don't. I run one-offs. That's what I do. I run one-offs, or occasionally I'll run one of the ones that I've written at a con or for a group of people. But I write one-offs. I run one-offs. We're there to have fun for 4 hours. When it's over, it's over. Oh, you saw my buddy Liam there. Come on up. Come on. Liam's lonely. He doesn't know what's going on tonight. Hi. Well, I'm glad to see you too. You better say hello to the people. Say hello. Come on, say hello to the people. All right, come on. You going to stay or you going to get... Oh, I guess he's going to get down. Oh, well, it was going to be an animal act tonight, but I guess it won't be. That's why I think that hit points is better in D&D, because D&D doesn't embrace... D&D flirted a few times with critical hits and wound location and stuff like that. But again, I don't think that fits into the flavor of D&D. My opinion. Okay. Saves the party from carrying too much junk by having it all get nuked in combat. Nothing like the explosion of a bag of holding erupting all the gear and treasure from the last 3 adventures onto the dungeon floor when the characters fail to save against some high power level spell like a fireball. Yeah, okay, if you want to do that. I don't do games like that now. I might consider something like that if I was running an ongoing campaign. But then again, that seems kind of adversarial. There are circumstances. Potions, long fall, tumble down a hill, possibility. It's just the way I roll. Uh, on writing scenarios, how did you identify darlings when writing your published modules? For example, Snake Riders of the Arredondo, or is there such a thing as darlings that must be killed when writing modules? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by darlings here. Snake Riders of the Arredondo came to me as an idea with these creatures that are neither 100% material plane, our plane 100%. They're a demonic construct. So by making them a demonic construct, I could have them procreate or not. I had all that at my fingertips to deal with, and they don't really procreate. If you bought the thing and read it, you know that. But I dealt with. I came up with. Okay, let's have a. First off, I came up with a tainted race of Fae, and I thought, well, no Fae has ever been identified with tropical rainforest or anything like that. Not in white European mythology. It's not to say that other mythologies and other cultures might not, but anyway, that's where I took it from. And then I had them break. The people the bad guys broke off from another temple, and they went here and they did this, and they became corrupt over a long period of time, and so the adventurers had to go and deal with this and find out what's going on and solve it. And so I knew that the snakes, which aren't truly snakes, I don't even remember what I called them at the time. Is this one of the modules? No. Anyway, the snakes were not really snakes. They were demonic constructs. So they had their own healing and generation and stuff. Well, they didn't generate really. And that the Fae had corrupted. And I just like the idea of a corrupt Fae. The Fae are mostly goody two-shoes. Now, there are many cultural myths that have, for one thing, goblins aren't drooling blood and whatever. Goblins are just little mischievous spirits. Okay, there's so many myths to draw upon, but hardly ever do you find Fae that are just downright evil. So I thought, okay, let's turn that 180 on its head. And then, of course, I had to give them these things that they ride on that have all these powers, telepathy and stuff, and control and different things, and made them the adversaries. I came up with the idea of corrupt waves of Fae. That blended into the snakes, Dumak. Yeah, I think that they're called Dumaka. I think. God, I wrote that a long time ago. And so that's how I write it. When I did, I have one I haven't published. It's a big sandbox adventure called Under the Devil's Skillet, and it all takes place over this vast desert. Some places hotter than others, and the hottest being the skillet. Whatever. There I set out just to make a sandbox. So I invented a story about the migration around the Great Desert and the myths behind all the oases and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think the impulse to write an adventure comes from any one place, and I don't understand the term darlings because they're there to be killed. Now, do I have favorite monsters? Well, let's see. Yeah, I think I got one that begins with a B. But again, there I couldn't use it here. All right. What is your interpretation of the effects of a hold person spell? I have concluded that the target is held in place, may be struck automatically if attacked, and will fail any save versus a breath weapon or spell that has an area effect, but they may still engage in spells with only a verbal component, or make a ranged attack or use a weapon of sufficient reach. In essence, their feet are glued to the floor, held in place for the duration. Too often I have seen this used as a temporary paralyzation effect when the target is helpless. Your experience of application is appreciated. Okay, hold person. I envision a hold person as when it takes effect, the target of the spell is struggling, trying to do what it wants, trying to do what it was set out to do when you threw the hold on them, trying to overcome it. Even if, they failed their saving throw, they're still trying. I don't care if their feet are glued to the floor or they prance around in a sunwise circle. That doesn't make some, hold is don't do what you were going to do. Don't swing that sword. Don't utter that cantrip. If someone who is being held is attacked physically, I give them an increasing chance of breaking the hold simply out of self-preservation, winning out. That's my interpretation of it. Let's see. The engage of spells with a verbal component. Okay, maybe. There'd have to be a test. Could they move their mouth, lips, and vocal cords? It's not paralyzation per se, but it is a severe compulsion not to move. You're straining against it. That's the way I see it. Your mileage may vary. But I wouldn't allow a hold person to be used to glue somebody's feet to the floor and then chop him up with a D6 sword. Every hit you hit on that D6 sword, there's a chance he's going to break that compulsion. You're being compelled to not move. It's a compulsion. I've been working on an original campaign setting, hoping to create a full book by year's end. It's related to my club idea. I've written some basic assumptions about the world and a greater timeline of events. I showed it to someone that I intend to have be a DM in that setting, and they asked why I haven't put dates and years on it. I said I wanted to keep it vague, like history wasn't accurate due to dark ages and falls. Any advice or opinions you could add are always welcome. Well, I might think about using that DM or not. Because that sounds like kind of a why don't you do this? Why is there no dates? Okay? That sounds to me like somebody that's a little hung up on being rules as written, raw, inflexible. Doesn't matter. This age followed that age. This dynasty followed that regency. Whatever. Don't have to have dates. It's fantasy. It's fantasy. If you want them, fine. Don't need them, in my opinion. It's a little picky. I'd seriously think about having him help you be a DM. I remember someone once recommended somewhat hand-waving encumbrance of making sure every party winds up with a bag of holding early on. I can see the logic in that, but it doesn't mean it's completely out of mind. You still need to keep some sort of reasonable restrictions on what the party can tote around. Well, the reasonable restrictions would be the individual encumbrances of the party plus whatever bags of holding or whatever else they have. That's what they can tote around. Now, am I going to sit there with a little adding machine? Tick, 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 tick. Yeah, that's an old one. No, I'm not going to. Boring. Um, yeah, you got to have some reasonable restrictions. I certainly wouldn't give everybody in the. I would make a bag of holding something really, really special that then enabled the group to exceed common sense encumbrance. Now we're going to argue with this one because this person is wrong. Swapping spell slots is too similar to a spell point system. Spell points were magicians, magic users. For the random style of play the Wheel of Blame engages in, it's necessary, but for standard play, the cleric needs to have spells memorized. Nope, they don't. Your opinion, my opinion, they differ. No, they don't. They don't. I don't like the idea of most of the, quote, religions that are generally used in D&D campaigns. I don't like the idea of them casting spells. I like the idea of them praying to their deity. And therefore, if you become a 6th level cleric in the order of Bruce of the Holy Trust, when you get there, that's part of getting to the 6th level, is you know all the new prayers that a 6th level acolyte of the Eternal Trust could know. That's the way I like it. If you don't like, I don't say you got to play my way. In the Wheel of Blame, it's very, very loose and slack because there is absolutely no way anybody that comes to my table has any idea of what might happen in the Wheel of Blame. Therefore, they cannot prepare. That's why I don't have magic users. Magic users have to memorize. And I could give them half again as many spells as they're entitled to. And chances are they won't, a third of them won't be effective in whatever comes up. So I ruled out magic users. Don't use them in the wheel. They're very, very, very important in the Wheel of Blame. There's only one. And so if they don't keep him alive, they're screwed. So, what's the difference? It's the way I like to play it. I like to separate the fact that clerics are different than magic users. Clerics are actively working to promote a doctrine. Hopefully it's good, or at least neutral good. It depends on your campaign and what you allow. But that's the way I see them. It's the way I've seen them for a long time. I've often thought it was silly for a cleric to have to memorize the night before. That's just silly. And in my game, there's absolutely no way except clear, dumb, blind luck that you could have memorized all the ones you'd like to use. So I make it a little laxer, a little more lax, a little more slack, if you will, in my game. Because, hey, it's a convention, it doesn't count. Tomorrow you don't get to keep anything you find there, and let's have some fun. Don't be nitpicking. But hey, spell points is not the same. No frickin' way is spell points the same. I fought against spell points tooth and nail with every weapon at my disposal when that abortion of an idea came up. All right, my question is about currency in D&D. Been much debate, economics in D&D, i.e. what's a gold piece, a silver piece. Aren't the coins at 10 to a pound too big? Well, that would make them 1.6 ounces. which would make them bigger than the old, heavier than the old American silver dollar. So, yeah, that's too big. The origination of the coinage was, hi, there'll be three metals that everybody wants: copper, silver, and gold. Copper being the baser metal, lesser value, silver somewhere in between, and gold being at the top. Now that assumes that your campaign runs on a gold standard. Your campaign can run on any standard using any currency you like. I do agree that 10 to a pound is a little preposterous. Back when I was running campaign type stuff, I was rather stingy. And when I write adventures, sometimes the payoff is in 500,000 copper pieces. How you get them out of there, it's up to you. One of them I wrote, the payoff was tens of gallons of incredibly magic honey. Of course, nobody thought they were going to need buckets when they went on the adventure. So sometimes hitting the big payout is not what you thought it was going to be. In my campaigns, price-wise and stuff, I'm kind of at the Old West type pricing, not the gold rush, or late 19th century pricing. So you can get a beer and a sandwich for a couple of silver. You can get a room for anywhere from starts at a silver up. You can get poor quality. You can use the copper in place of. You set up whatever. 100 copper eats. 50 copper equals 1 silver. 20 silver equals a gold. However you want to set it. But what I like to do is I like to set it stingy. Very, very stingy. Because I don't have to give away as much treasure. And, what do you know? We don't think about encumbrance so much if we're not hauling out big gunny sacks full of gold pieces that weigh 10 to the pound. 10 to the pound, it started out high. There's going to be gold and silver and copper. And then people want to go, well, how much? How many? What difference does it make? Make it up. 100 copper to a gold. 10 copper to a silver. Whatever you want. Don't forget inflation. The best way to get a bunch of adventurers off their keisters and back out adventuring again is when they come into town, wherever their town is, and they're flush with cash and they're flowing around, inflation goes up through the ceiling. And their money is worth less. And they have to leave again to go out of town and go get some more loot. It started as, three coinages. We could have had Electrum in there and could have made up a bunch of stuff. It all started very simple. Well, how big is it? How much is it? Well, okay, it's this. And so Gary came up with, 10 to the pound and all this kind of stuff. It was a way of weighing the stuff to figure out its encumbrance. So, 10 to the pound now makes sense to the DM that does not want his campaign ruined with untold wealth. Because now, if you're encumbrance, you've got enough to carry an extra 40 pounds of loot. Well, gee, 10 to the pound, okay, there you go. That's a good reason to have a weight. Your weight can be whatever you want. I think we published at different times 2 or 3 different breakdowns on the currencies and what you could do with currencies, I believe. I don't know. It's a long time ago. Let's see what comes next. What are your favorite underrated equipment items people don't have their characters use? Well, as I've explained, when we do the wheel, anything beyond the standard that I assume, iron rations, ropes, pitons, all that kind of crap. No 10-foot poles. I ban those. I assume they already have that stuff. That's their survival bag, their go bag, whatever. Anything else they bring along, anything else out of the ordinary, all they got to do is write it down. I've had people bring a pound of yak butter and seasoning and skillets and stuff because they're going to eat a meal along the way. And no, they weren't hobbits. But that iron skillet. On the adventure I had the first time, somebody brought along an iron skillet and clocked something with it and killed it. Oh, that was great. And that same weekend, I had another party who I'm pretty sure did not know anybody in the first group also bring along a skillet, and he also clocked somebody with a skillet. Now, if you cook with cast iron skillets, such as I do, that 12-inch skillet is a formidable weapon. That's probably my favorite offbeat one. Here's a suggestion. High encumbrance equals more wandering monster encounters. It's a little cruel. And somebody responded, that's when you get them on a rickety boat in the high seas. Hope you can swim with all that on. Well, that sounds just mean-spirited, like you're just trying to figure out a way to take it. If you set up a circumstance that had all this treasure, and they did what could be done or needed to be done, and that doesn't mean they killed all your monsters. They might have thought their way around. Well, you can't be bitter about that and then put them in sea in a leaky boat. Come on. That's not cool. And the number one thing that a DM, GM, CC has to be is cool. Okay, I've been wondering who some of the places and or people shown in your outro at the end of the show. Anyway, your editor could add captions to some of the photos. Thanks. Probably not. Couple of those, at least one of those pictures is someone who's simply asked to take a selfie with me and then put it online. So I felt, okay, I wasn't violating anybody's privacy there. Some of them are friends. Now, you see a picture that looks amazingly like that picture behind me of those two people standing either side of me. Well, that I can identify. That's Sofia Vergara and her husband, Joe Manganiello. And that was taking place in California, as was the one where I'm on the big green wooden rocking chair thing. That was also in California. They flew me out there for this big charity auction. They were auctioning artwork and stuff. They auctioned off me running a game. And that got a whole lot of money, a surprising amount of money. And I ran it for him for, 5.5, 6 hours. And then later that day or the next day, I went to Joe's house and ran a game for him at his request. A lot of the other, some of the others, I just, as it is, I haven't had anybody sign anything about being there, and they're all friends for the most part, so I'd rather not. No, I'd rather not. Okay, please tell us about your time as a celebrity auctioneer at Gen Con. What was the weirdest, best thing you auctioned for? Well, I sold. I think, yeah, I sold my ponytail. That's probably the weirdest. Um, I was in chemo for cancer and all that stuff, and I ended up auctioning off my ponytail, and they snipped it off. That's when I had much more than what I have now. I heard what I have now described by some snotty bitch as a chrome dome rat tail. Well, I, I got mark off a spot on my posterior she can plant her lips on. Um, it was fun. It was a bit overwhelming because well, when I got asked if I wanted to do it, I thought, okay, I was going to be a celebrity auctioneer, and I was informed, and I'm not too sure to this day why I put up with it, that because I was a newbie, I was also going to have to do these other menial jobs. Not that I'm against menial jobs, but that's not the way they approached me. They wanted me to be a celebrity auctioneer, name they could peddle, etc. In fact, one year the Gen Con convention booklet talked about the Tim and Frank show, or Frank and Tim show, or however it was. Um, but I got past that, and it was a lot of fun. It was extremely weird in some cases. When my first one back, before I'd gone up on the stage to do anything, Frank Menser gave me a way, way, way too long introduction. And when I walked out on the stage, I got a standing ovation from a couple thousand people I didn't know. I guess because I wasn't dead yet. Uh, and we had some fun. We had a lot of laughs. We did weird shit. I would throw Twinkies at people that made Twinkie bets, little crappy minimal bets, and I got pretty good at drilling anybody in the first 8 rows with a Twinkie. And that was a lot of fun. Carolyn Teets, who is now Carolyn Teets. Oh God, I'm sorry, Caroline. She was, when I first started, she was a young girl that was always up helping us on stage and modeling stuff and taking stuff into the audience so they could look at it, small stuff. And watching her grow up was great. And now she's a mom of 2 and an attorney. And wow, that's been a fun ride watching Caroline grow up. Lovely Caroline, we used to like to call her. Watching the phases of gaming, we knew at Gen Con when a genre was dead, because we got inundated with that year. When the vampire game craze died, oh my God, we had vampire books. Oh, it got so bad that we were auctioning them off in bundles. We had so many of them. Some of that stuff was fun. For the most part, it was fun. I quit going to Gen Con because it got too goddamn big, and the last year I went, I got knocked down twice in the dealer area. And even if I was on a scooter, people thought it was a good joke to jump out in front of me as I'm coming along to, get across. It was, yeah. What was the weirdest thing, best thing? Well, some of the best things were some of the amazing dice sets that Crystal Cast made. And we auctioned off one set one year that was made from an asteroid. And we auctioned off another set one year that was made from fossilized mastodon bones. That was pretty cool. Is it correct that you and Frank Menser were both auctioneering at Gen Con Indy? And was that part of your efforts together to promote Eldritch? No, I don't believe we ever mentioned Eldritch from the stage. That That would have been just too crass. I don't remember having done it. I don't think I did it. Yeah, we worked together. Frank and I worked prime time. Collectibles, high-end stuff. It got to be toward the end of my stay there that there's so damn many auctioneers. You couldn't get out there long enough to get a good roll going before you had to sub out to somebody. That was part of why I left too. A couple of people that were horning in thought they were hot shit. First, newbies, and I just didn't feel like arguing with them. Was it fun? Yeah, well, yeah, I had a good time, or I wouldn't have done it all those years. What is Frank Menser like? Well, ask him. I'm sure he'll be glad to tell you. Do you think your involvement in Eldritch and RPG publishing may have been a bigger part of your life if Gygax magazine hadn't been shut down? Well, possibly. Would have been a bigger part of my life if we hadn't had the mini recession we had in the mid-'80s under Ronald Reagan, and watched 60% of all the small mom and pop shops of all kinds shut their doors and go out of business. That would have been different. Yeah, would have made it different. Circulation would have been up. Today, what would it have, if the magazine had kept going? Truth be told, we had a hell of a time getting enough advertising at a rate that everybody could, live with, to try and pay for that thing. And as time went on and other companies went under, we'd have lost, as much as it pains me to say it, the era of the print magazine is fading away. So, no, I don't think Gygax magazine. I was only a consulting editor. I wasn't making any profits on it. I wasn't even getting any money. I was getting a few copies of the magazine for the work I did. So, no, I don't think that alone would have kept me more involved in gaming. Let's see. Boy, that went quick. So yeah, about the people in the outro, no, I don't feel I could do that in good faith. Probably not. And the auction was fun. When I first started, the auction was insane. We'd be in there at night. We'd be in there until 2:30 in the morning auctioning. And then they were keeping us in this Baghdad Hilton cement block hotel miles away. By the time we got out, there was nothing open to eat. I remember one year, Frank and I lived on a big jar of Sunkist chocolate-covered raisins because it was closed every night. There wasn't anywhere to go. But hey, running around Indianapolis at 2 in the morning trying to find a store or even a gas station that's got some potato chips, those are the kind of weird stories that you accumulate doing that kind of stuff. Working with Frank was interesting. I wouldn't do it again. In anything. Auction, Eldritch, nothing. I'll just leave it at that. And that looks about the end here. So, until next time, do Dadagovi. Hello, and welcome to my cellar.
He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller Cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs. Still quite a feller, the Curmudgeon in the Cellar. Last man around when them rates went down. Called it Gary in that Lake Geneva town. Hey Gary, it's an awful mess. Let me edit, we'll have success. D&D and Dragon Magazine. He's a curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Magic missile, it's a mortar shell. Make it hit in the first level spell. Brought psionics to the game to attack that wizard's brain. DSR and fantasy, collection of micro armory. Titan with tramp under a tree, high as could be. He's the curmudgeon who wrote about the dungeons. Now he's the feller, live from the cellar. Talks about D&D and old school RPGs, but he's still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Still quite the feller, the curmudgeon in the cellar. Curmudgeon.